Welcome back. In this lesson, we'll execute the Databricks notebook from our Azure Data Factory to transform the testing data, which is our requirement too. Let's switch over to our Data Factory and get started. Okay, here we are in our Data Factory. Let's head to Manage and then click on Link Services and click New. So here we want to create a link service for the Databricks service. So we want to find that under Compute rather than Data Store. And here it is Azure Databricks and click Continue. Just to remind you, we have already performed this for our population data transformation. You take this as refresher session. I'm going to call this one LSDB COVID Compute 2. Okay. And we can leave it on the default integration runtime. And we want to find the subscription here. So that'll be my pay-as-you-go subscription. Go here for me. And we want to pick the Databricks workspace. Here we will select the same workspace which we have created earlier, that is COVID Reporting Databricks to Learn ADF. And we want to create a new job cluster rather than using an existing interactive cluster because we've deleted that in our case or using from a pool. We don't have a pool actually. So that's that one. And one more thing we need to do here is the access token. So we need to get an access token from our Databricks workspace and give it here. Either you can keep that in Key Vault and then use the Key Vault to get the access token. But let's paste it in here directly. To get the access token, you need to head over to the Databricks workspace. And then on the right-hand side on the top, as you can see, if you click on you'll see Settings. And then select Developer. Here you need to click on Manage button. Click Generate a new token. You can say this is for demo purposes, that's optional, and you can keep it for as long as you want, but I'm going to keep it for, say, 30 days and click Generate. That'll give you a token. But one thing to remember is you have to copy this and keep it somewhere safe because you won't be able to see this again. So I'm going to put it into my text pad for now and click OK and then head over to the Data Factory again. And let's give the access token. So that's gone in there. And based on that, it's gone and got the cluster versions. So which one we can use? So let's head over to that. So let's pick the cluster version from here. Let's go for something latest. So let's pick the 13.3 LTS. That's the one we used on the interactive cluster. And we want to pick the node type. Let's go for the smallest general purpose one. This is the one we used previously, which is the DS3_V2. And we want to get a latest Python version 3. And we can keep the number of workers as 1. That's good enough for us. And you've got additional cluster settings. This is the unique scripts and all that kind of stuff, but we don't need anything like that. And let's test the connection here. Yeah, it's successful. And then now we can click Create and that'll create the link service for us. Okay, that's been created. So the next thing to do is to create the pipeline that'll execute a notebook. So I'm going to create a new pipeline from here and let's call this one as PL Process Testing Data 2. Okay, now we need to pull in an activity to execute the notebook. Under Databricks you got 3 different activities that you can execute. You've got the standard Python activity, you got the jar to execute, and then the notebook to execute. But in our case we've created a Python notebook within Databricks. So we want the notebook activity. I'm going to call this one as Execute Testing Transformation. Okay. So the options here are pretty standard. So you got the timeout, currently set to 12 hours. You would want to change that and retry, and then the retry interval. And if you want, whether you want to secure your inputs and outputs. The next thing we want to do is to click on the Azure Databricks. And you want to pick your link service. So that is the LSDB COVID Compute 2. And here in Settings you would want to put your notebook path so you can browse to that because our link service will take you there. So we put ours under COVID Trans and it is the transform testing data. So let's click OK on that. And you can open the notebook if you wanted to. And that's everything you need to do. We got no parameters and we don't have to append any libraries as well. So if we publish this, so that's been published, either you can do a debug or you can do a manual trigger. So I'll do a manual trigger and then we'll see in the monitor section. So let's do trigger now and there are no parameters to give. So it's running at the moment. So let's head over to the monitor tab and see what's running. Yeah, so we got this trigger running at the moment, and let's have a look. So at the moment it's just provisioning the cluster, I hope. So let's open that up. So as you can see, it's saying, waiting for the cluster. So it is spinning up a cluster for us and then no output available until the task begins. So normally it takes about 3 to 4 minutes to spin up a job cluster and then it'll execute the notebook for us. So let's wait for a few minutes. Okay, so the pipeline's now succeeded. So let's have a look. It's taken 4 minutes and 57 seconds. And if you click on the glasses there, it'll give you the URL to look at the output. So that takes you to Databricks. So as you can see, the everything succeeded and the status is succeeded, and it's giving you the execution output. So this command took 0.85 seconds and things like that. So you can see individually each command's execution time. So everything succeeded and it all looks okay. So let's head over to the storage account and see the output for ourselves. So the output was going to be written under the process container, and we were expecting a testing folder in ECDC folder. And we got a testing folder, and we got the files here. As you can see, it's got this weird naming here. That's because Spark uses distributed computing. So it's at one partition here. So that's why you've got this one file. Otherwise you would end up having more than one. So I'm going to download this file and we can have a quick look. So download that into here and I'm going to open that in Spreadsheet. Okay, here's the file. So let's have a look. Over here we are able to successfully transform our testing data. That is brilliant. So it looks really good. If you got stuck while doing the testing transformation, then you can download transformed file from resources for this section folder. But before we finish, I want to head over to the Databricks workspace and show you the job cluster created as part of this execution. So let's do that. And if I click on compute, as we know we had one interactive cluster, which we deleted. We used it for our set of activities. So there is no compute listed here, but under job compute, you can see one. So this is the one we just spun from our data factory pipeline. And that was created and also terminated. So this is a compute you can't restart, it won't let you do that. And this is the runtime that we requested. And the driver node and the work node are specified actually. So that's the DS3v2. So if you click on that one, you can see the configuration. So you got the worker type as DS3v2 and the driver is the DS3v2. So in this case, actually it would have costed as 1.5 Databricks units for an hour. But because the cluster was spun up and destroyed within 4 minutes or 4.5 minutes, it would have costed us literally nothing. And in this case, actually the cluster mode is also standard. So as I said before, you can't restart this cluster. You don't have the option. So you're not seeing anything. All you can do is go to the job run. So that's all it is. It gives you the outputs. So I hope this lesson's given you an idea of how to invoke Databricks activity from your data factory pipelines. So that's the end of this lesson. I'll see you in the next one.